Welcome back to another episode of Zone Coverage. I'm Cody Schoeler here with Ryan Root, as always, ready to talk about some NFL action. But before we get into our picks and preview for the weekend, I want to do a little award race update. We talked about it. We've talked about it quite often through the year. We talked about it a bit a few weeks ago, and actually a lot has changed since then. So, just a little quick little refresher on that. I mean, obviously the biggest one, the last time we talked, Tom Brady was a not super heavy, but a heavy favorite. We both thought he would be MVP. It has now switched. Aaron Rodgers is now the favorite, with Tom Brady barely ahead of Jonathan Taylor for second. Those guys being the top three. What is your take on MVP, and do you stand by your pick, or are you switching it up?
So I think Tom Brady might have slipped at the last second is the thing, because now Aaron Rodgers being the front runner, you could definitely make a case, like a very strong case, that Aaron Rodgers should have this MVP in a couple of weeks. But Jonathan Taylor, I mean, people are saying that he's in third place, but like you said, it's not by much. Some people would argue it's second place, just with the way that he's transformed this team this season. But
playing better right now. Yeah,
MVP to me sounds like it's going to be Rodgers still. Unless, if they clinch up that division this week and they don't play Rodgers on week 18, then, he'll take a hit in terms of, losing a week of stats. And maybe Jonathan Taylor has two great games this week and next week and builds his case a little bit more. But in all honesty here, they will give it to Rodgers, I think. Tom Brady, I think, is probably out the running unless he just goes off as well. But Jonathan Taylor would have to have two, historic games to really stand a legitimate chance. But I'm glad that he's even in the top three.
Yeah, exactly. I agree. I think Aaron Rodgers probably should get it, and I think if people decided he would, but because it's the vote, the writers and all this and whatever, I honestly think Tom Brady still has a better chance than we think, and that the odds reflect. Because, like I said last time, I don't know how much of that social stuff is going to get in Rodgers' way. We'll see. I think he's certainly, we've talked about it, the most valuable player to his team. I think Tom Brady might end the year with the best numbers, and I think that could be his case for that. So we'll see. Brady's going to have to do something a little bit more in these next 2 weeks, as he'll probably be playing in week 17. But I think it's a two-man race, just because Brady kind of has that holdover from earlier in the year. Let's see, a few things. I don't think we really need to hit on the rookies of the year. Micah Parsons is so much a favorite that I don't even see odds listed on here anymore. It's obviously going to him. Mac Jones still a favorite, as well as comeback player of the year. That's going to be Dak Prescott, although Joe Burrow maybe making a late push for it. But, I mean, defensive player of the year is probably turning out to be the most interesting one for me. Mm-hmm. The odds right now have TJ Watt barely ahead of Micah Parsons, and then have Trayvon Diggs, Aaron Donald, and Myles Garrett way behind. Robert Quinn not on there. He's right behind him in sacks. But I think this is TJ Watt's award to win or to lose, however you want to say it.
Yeah, he's probably still number one as far as, the game last week against Kansas City doesn't help him, to say the least, but that's mainly just Ben Roethlisberger being well out of his prime, and not so much on TJ Watt, because let's face it, TJ Watt is the Steelers' defense, really. Other than Minkah Fitzpatrick. So, but defensive player of the year is interesting, considering that there is at least a chance. I don't know if it's not a 0% chance like it would be for Jonathan Taylor. Like, Jonathan Taylor has a 0.001% chance of winning MVP, if you ask me. Mm-hmm. But Micah Parsons being the first ever, as far as I know, the first ever defensive player of the year.
I think Lawrence Taylor might have done it.
He was the only other person I was thinking of that might have been able to do it. Even him. He
won it. Lawrence Taylor, 1981.
And he's the only one to have done it.
Yeah.
So Micah Parsons has quite the name to live up to with Lawrence Taylor being the only person to get that award. However, in his case, compared to Jonathan Taylor, I mean, Defensive Player of the Year for the most part goes to edge rushers. Rarely goes to corners. Good thing Micah Parsons just does it all really out there. So,
well, that's the thing.
He can make a legitimate case for Defensive Player of the Year, and the fact that the Cowboys have two players in the top 5 really is kind of insane, considering last year and the year before the Cowboys defense was mostly a joke.
Yeah, I mean, Micah Parsons is 6th in sacks, so even as an edge rusher, he would have a case to be on there. So
what is he in total tackles?
I mean, he's only at 79 or total, 79,
which is still, I mean, like,
well, that puts him at about like in the 70s. I mean, Bobby Wagner has 170, so
okay.
And I mean, the way that every different like home park kind of does it differently. It's a bit of you can get like an assisted tackle can be a very controversial thing at times. But I honestly think if Micah Parsons was not a rookie, he would probably get this award. I think they're going to view giving him Defensive Rookie of the Year as a consolation and then give it to TJ Watt, who honestly maybe should have even won it last year. He certainly deserves it. But Micah Parsons just putting himself in that situation is crazy. And then really, I think, the last player award that's really up for grabs right now is Offensive Player of the Year. Cooper Kupp has barely pulled ahead of Jonathan Taylor, and this is a two-man race if we've ever seen one. I know a few weeks ago we were split, Taylor and Kupp. I'm still going to go with Kupp. I don't know what you are, if you've changed your mind, but I mean, both of them are certainly worthy of this award.
I think you have to give it to Taylor at this point. Kupp has been playing fantastic, more than any other receiver in the league. Don't get me wrong. But what if he is a second-year player who's absolutely lifted his team up to being one of the top teams in his division? I mean, Cooper Kupp isn't the one carrying the Rams. Matt Stafford's having a great year as well.
What if Cooper Kupp breaks the records for receptions and yards in a season while leading the NFL in touchdowns?
Well, how far off is he from the receiving yards record?
I think he's, let me see, like 200 away at this point.
Because, I mean, if he's him breaking the receptions record, I think is going to happen.
That's.
Record, I mean, this team isn't playing for the first overall seed anymore, really. I mean,
they're playing for the division, though.
Right, they're playing for the division, but they're not really competing for that number 1 overall seed. I mean, they are technically a win behind the Packers, but the Packers will win out. So you have to take into account the players' safety at this point, because if Arizona loses this week and the Rams win, they get the division. And at that point, you're just playing for second or third place at this point.
Well, you're playing for seeding. Also, like, receiver is a lot easier to control because you can, play him for, half the game or whatever. Just get the record and then dip. But he's 230 yards away from it. And he is averaging 115 yards per game. So he is on pace to break it. But my thing is
with Michael. So the thing that helps Cooper Kupp's case is that Michael Thomas won it 2 years ago, the year that I believe he did break the receptions record. So that does help Kupp's case, considering they gave the award to someone that was in the exact same position at him. If not, is more surpassing the receiving yards record now. So that does help.
I think Kupp is more dominant,
But much like that, they'll probably give Micah Parsons the consolation of Defensive Rookie of the Year, which was already a lock to begin with, and probably give TJ Watt Defensive Player of the Year. You got to consider the same thing for Taylor being second in the MVP race, really. I mean, him having a consolation of Offensive Player of the Year, as long as they don't give it to a quarterback, which is just
they won't.
To me.
I mean, they're starting to get some Cooper Kupp like MVP buzz, not legitimately, but people saying like we should start talking about him because he's what he's doing is insane. But my thing is the tough thing about Jonathan Taylor is we have seen a better version of his season, and it's Derrick Henry last year. Like Derrick Henry is a better version of Jonathan
And Derrick
Taylor,
Henry won the award last year. So
yeah, but that's the thing is that was better, and so we're giving it to Jonathan Taylor. Meanwhile, Cooper Kupp is having a unrivaled like wide receiver season in the past however many years. Like it's just, I think if he breaks both of those records, because Jonathan Taylor's not breaking any records, he won't even do better than what.
No, I'd be curious to see what second-year running back records he's breaking, or like when people want to take into account Justin Jefferson having the most reception or most receiving yards in the first 2 seasons of the NFL. Where's Jonathan Taylor in that list? Because he's got to be up there in terms of those stats. But it's really the story that's following Jonathan Taylor, not so much on Cooper Kupp. Sure, Cooper Kupp has been, overlooked the entire time he's been in the NFL. He was even overlooked probably when he was in Eastern as well. I mean, who is really drafting out of Eastern Washington at the end of the day?
Do you want to know? Well, because Jonathan Taylor is 1,200 yards away from rushing yards through 2 seasons.
I can only imagine who.
Eric Dickerson had 3,913.
Ridiculous numbers. Okay.
So he might have set the record in his second year, or certainly had 2,000.
Yes. Like Jonathan Taylor also has this story following him about flipping around the Colts' destiny at the beginning of the season. Because
Eric Dickerson set the rushing record in his second year in the league.
Sure,
so
he's not Eric Dickerson at the end of the day. Obviously, it's a different league and whatnot. But
like he's playing great, but I just feel like to give it to Jonathan Taylor when we have seen better versions of that like similar type of season, last year, the year before with Derrick Henry. Meanwhile, we don't really have a comparison for this Cooper Kupp season recently. I mean, to break or to even get close to that yardage record and to do it with, because that year that Calvin Johnson set that record, he didn't lead the league in touchdowns, I don't think. Michael Thomas certainly wasn't leading the league in yards when he set the thing for receptions. To do all three of those.
If I'm wrong, when Calvin Johnson was breaking those records, I believe, wasn't one of those years like 2012 when Adrian Peterson was so close to beating the rushing record? And we also have Chris Johnson here in 2009. He was a 2000 year.
Oh, I just looked this up. This was a while ago, but the Triple Crown for running back for wide receivers,
which is MVP offensive.
No, leading in receptions, yards, and touchdowns. Looks like three times since Jerry Rice did it in 1990. Now this is a few years ago, but Sterling Sharp and Steve Smith did it. So what he's doing is historic. What Cooper Kupp is doing,
especially nowadays with the amount of great receivers there are. But I mean, I think Cooper Kupp probably has more of the favorite to be selected for the award because he's been in the league a little bit longer and he's he's due to get his piece. But Jonathan Taylor, again, really the thing that's following Taylor is just the story behind him, and that's the same thing to do with MVP. Like I said, he has a 0.001% chance of winning MVP, but Offensive Player of the Year, we can't be too surprised if he wins it over Kupp. But if he does win it over Kupp, there's definitely going to be people angry on both sides. Is the thing.
I mean, I think it depends on what he does these next 2 weeks. Like either one of them. Like if Jonathan Taylor rushes for 300 yards, then we certainly will start talking about that. But if Cooper Kupp if Cooper Kupp breaks that record and Jonathan Taylor doesn't get to 2,000 yards, I think it would be hard to give it to Taylor over him.
For sure. I mean, it's all going to come down to these last 2 weeks. Jonathan Taylor, can we really expect a 150 rushing performance in both this week and next week to try and compete for that division and maybe a top 4 spot in the conference? Or can we bet on Cooper Kupp doing what he's been doing the entire season while they they compete for their division spot.
And I mean,
it's going to depend what these defenses want to go or what these offenses want to go through to win.
I mean, you want to talk about resting players. Jonathan Taylor, I think, much more likely to get some rest in Week 18 than Cooper Kupp, probably just because of the nature of running back is a lot more hard hitting. So unless I don't know who they play, I assume it's a division game and it won't be the Titans. So they play the Jaguars. Are they going to need to run him 30 times against the Jaguars? Probably not. So that's certainly something to monitor as well.
Yeah, and their defense is among. I mean, they don't score a whole lot, and they allowed a ton of points. So Jonathan Taylor could get a lot of touches out there just for them to run the clock, but him resting because he's a running back, I mean, that's also a fair point considering. I mean, the Titans are rushing to get Derrick Henry back for the playoffs. I mean, rushing, not rushing, whatever you want to call it, but he's not going to be 100% in the playoffs. But I think if the Colts are smart and they want to at least upset one team to try to make a Super Bowl run, then you might have to consider it.
I mean, a Super Bowl run, we both said on Monday that we think they are capable of with Jonathan Taylor playing the way he is. So that's certainly more important. But we can now move on to talking about those games this weekend. I want to propose something a bit different here than we usually do, just because, looking through these games, there's no Thursday night game, there's a Monday night game, but I want to get 3 games. I want to get 3 games out of the gate first because they are heavy favorite games. So, I want to go from there, and then we can talk about some of the. Then we can go by time. But the first one is Buffalo and Atlanta. Buffalo's a 14.5 point favorite at home against Atlanta.
I mean, 14.5 points was quite a bit when I saw it because I'm thinking, are they playing the Packers? Are they playing the Bucks? Are they playing the Rams? No, they're playing the Bills.
I mean, I guess they looked good last week.
They looked good last week, and they beat one of the best defenses in the league. We just got to see if they can do it twice, basically. And they're not going to have as much of an obstacle to overcome with Atlanta, obviously.
Not at all.
And their defense can probably really flourish in this game because, like I said, Buffalo's defense, they can come out and play when they most need it is the thing. And there's no better, team to really do that against other than Atlanta, who's been, they had this weird surge in the in the third quarter of the season, but they're not making a playoff run obviously now. So really they just got to handle Kyle Pitts and maybe Calvin Ridley if he's playing now. I know that he was hurt.
I doubt it. Russell Gage is, maybe starting to do a little bit, but so the Bills will have some reinforcements. They will have Cole Beasley and Gabriel Davis back, who are both on the COVID list. Cole Beasley obviously has, he's racked up about, I think it was 100,000 in fines from the COVID protocols. He's a staunch anti-vaxxer, but so that should help. I know. Josh Allen had a ball go right through Emmanuel Sanders' hands in the end zone. So getting, some sure-handed guys back will help. To me, the Atlanta has been the team all year that I have been convinced was going to pull this upset or keep it close and then didn't. But frankly, I still believe in it. I would take Atlanta to cover in this. I think Buffalo will definitely win, but I think Atlanta could keep it within 2 touchdowns. We've seen Buffalo not necessarily blow teams out when they should at times, so it's possible maybe, a bit of a come down game after such a big win against New England.
Yeah, Atlanta.
Cordero Patterson going off.
We'll see. This is one of the worst rushing teams in the league is the thing. So, Buffalo doesn't have to worry about stopping the run that they did with New England, right? No. So, this is really going to be them defending the pass. Like I said, Kyle Pitts, Calvin Ridley, Russell Gage. And then this is a bottom half passing team, not by much. They don't score a whole lot of points, though, is the thing, and
They don't do a whole lot of anything. To
right.
Be fair.
So
just tell me.
They're last in the league for sacks. So Josh Allen's not going to have any sort of pressure. I'll be honest. I think Buffalo will cover.
Yeah, just tell me Buffalo and move on. You don't.
Buffalo will cover.
You're giving Atlanta.
It's going to snow too. You think Atlanta knows how to play in the snow? I don't think so.
They'll figure it out. Another one that we certainly do not have to spend that much time on is New England at home against Jacksonville. They're up to 16-point favorites here. There should be no reason to even think Jacksonville can keep it that close.
Well, let me tell you something. I think Jacksonville will lose by more than the spread.
I think Jacksonville will lose. I thought you were going to say like 50. I would have been like, yeah. I mean, we saw what Bill Belichick did against the Jets.
Rookie quarterbacks. You cannot have a rookie quarterback go up against Bill Belichick. He will absolutely destroy you, and he's going to do it with a rookie quarterback. So we got a little Clemson Alabama matchup on Sunday.
There was some hope for last week. Jacksonville. They played the Jets, and it was like maybe Urban Meyer's gone. They could figure something out. Beat another bad team.
Right.
They lost. It's
Trevor
not happening.
Lawrence still looks like he's running out there blind. I mean,
Jacksonville needs to secure this number 1 draft pick. So
they need to secure this number 1 draft pick, and they need to take a deep dive into this head coaching pool that's coming up, because there's some interesting names out there. One of them being Doug Peterson from the Eagles. One of them also being Byron Leftwich, who used to be.
I think Byron Leftwich, yeah.
That could be interesting. I'm personally pulling for Kellen Moore from Dallas to be the head coach there. He is pretty young, so that kind of does hurt his case.
We'll see about that.
Would love to see who the Jags are going to be having as their coach, and maybe this is the game to show how bad they need a coach, or whatever have you.
Well, I think we've seen how bad they need a coach.
Yeah.
When you're talking about your next head coach in week 17, then not a good sign for you in this game. The third and final double-digit spread game is Houston at San Francisco. San Francisco 12.5-point favorites for that one. I think that what Houston showed last week, upsetting the Chargers, I think can lead to them keeping this one close-ish. I mean, Davis Mills is feisty. That Houston offense can somehow score, and San Francisco is not a juggernaut team by any means. They'll win. They know how to score when they need to, and with their talented guys like Deebo Samuel and George Kittle. But I mean, they're not going to. I don't think Houston pulls off another upset, but I think they could keep it semi-competitive for most of the game. Hopefully, I think Davis Mills is starting to show some competence there.
Yeah, Houston is probably about the most misleading 4-11 team in this league. I mean, obviously this team has practically nothing going on, and they somehow beat the Chargers last week. But with San Fran needing to get a playoff spot, I feel like Houston is feeling the mood to upset again.
I mean, they did it to
in this room right now. Good Lord.
They did it to the Chargers last week, so they certainly are, they certainly have the taste for it already. And this might not necessarily take the Niners out of it if they lose, but it won't certainly help them. So I mean, I think we are in agreement that San Francisco will win, is what I'm hearing. I don't know if you think they'll do it handily or if Houston will give them a fight.
I think San Fran will win, but Houston, they're going to want to spoil another game. I mean, that's the only thing this team really can do to build up spirits. It's like, hey, let's go beat another good team. I mean, Houston will probably come out competing, but San Fran should have this locked up if they're really taking their playoff run. If they're really trying to keep their playoff hopes alive. And Deebo Samuel, I think, will have a good game as well.
Yeah. All right. I'll let you take it from here now. I just wanted to get those games out of the way so we can talk about some more interesting games, even though some of these games are still kind of trash, but those ones for sure. Oh, I missed one actually. Tampa Bay against the Jets. Tampa Bay's 13-point favorite. Then they will win and cover that.
Tom Brady gets to beat the Jets again. There you go.
Tom Brady. This needs to be his like 5 touchdown, 350 yard
if he
game.
wants any sort of hope with MVP, he's got to throw.
We don't
yards for 5 touchdowns.
We don't know if he cares. We don't know if he gives a shit if he wants the MVP. But
he's almost got enough rings to cover both of his hands. So
either way, the way that he hasn't been necessarily playing bad, but his stats haven't been there the past 2 weeks. I think he'll want to, kind of take it out on the Jets. So this will be a big Bucs win.
This will probably be a tune-up game of sorts. Sure, I could see that.
All right, I promise that is the last one of those games. So now we can move on.
Okay, so for the 10 a.m. games, what we have left, Giants at Bears. Bears is a 6-point favorite over the Giants, which
that's the other one I was talking about when I said
that's a weird spread. Like
there's some.
I don't know how the Bears could be a 6-point favorite over the Giants. I mean, these are two bad teams, but
when
I don't know.
Oh, and I mean, I forgot to mention for that San Francisco game, Jimmy Garoppolo dealing with a bit of a thumb injury, so it's possible he could not even play in this game, which would make Trey Lance have to come in.
Situation. Okay.
So, I mean, which could be really good for the Niners and Trey Lance, because if Trey Lance is hitting, I think this offense will be incredibly potent, but could also, we've seen him struggle sometimes, so that's something to monitor. And then for the Bears, Andy Dalton has been a full participant in practice, and Justin Fields is still limited, but it seems like they won't have to go it with Nick Foles like they did last week. They'll at least have one of those two guys back. I know they're definitely hoping to get Justin Fields, but I mean, and the New York Giants will. I mean, Jones is on the IR. They had Glennon. They went to Fromm. So if this could be Jake Fromm and Justin Fields, that would be a very fun matchup, because Justin Fields transferred from Georgia because Jake Fromm kept that job over him. Nice little revenge game for Justin Fields, maybe. But
you're really trying to make a storyline for this game, aren't you?
Well, I just thought about that. I mean, I don't know if there's some. I think it would be nice for him to be like, "Hey, look who's better now." But I am picking the Giants to cover just because my rule is when there's two bad teams, I pick the team with the points. And I mean, this could be a 3-point decided game either way. I don't necessarily see one team, running away with it as bad as the Giants.
I would pick the Giants to cover too. That being said, I don't know who's going to win, nor do I really care. We'll go with the Bears because I think they have more of a complete roster than the Giants do per se. Whoever the Giants decide to, play the ball through on offense, Saquon's not going to play, and Daniel Jones.
You want another storyline here?
Between this game, sure. We're probably hyping this game up more than those fans are. So
the Giants have the Bears' first-round pick, so it might help them out to beat the Bears because the Bears' pick would get worse because Giants' pick sitting in that range. So they don't want the Bears' pick to get too good on them. So that's another thing to watch.
What you're saying is they have the Bears pick, so they should beat the Bears so that they get a better pick from the Bears. When in reality, they could just really want to win this game, and it doesn't necessarily matter. But,
I'm just saying,
sure.
if they lose, and then not only do they lose, but that pick gets even worse, that might suck. Might suck.
How much worse? How much worse? We don't really know because there's plenty bad.
And
teams.
who matters when they're? Who knows? It doesn't matter when they pick some crappy player either. But so, are you going with the Bears?
Let's go with the Bears because I think I bet you Justin Fields still plays. If not him, then Andy Dalton, and they're going to be set with them leading them the way. But Giants will cover.
Yeah.
But another 10 a.m. game. This one's very interesting. We got Cincinnati hosting Kansas City. Kansas City is a 5-point favorite on the road. Look, Cincinnati knows how to win these big games, these big, upsets, if you want to call them. Joe Burrow just had a record-breaking game.
For what, 1 year?
Yeah, but they're number one in the division is the thing. And Baltimore is not a fantastic team, but they're only a win behind the Bengals. And I think they split this season.
No, Cincinnati.
Did they win both times?
Yeah.
Okay, so it's not life or death for Cincinnati then, but
no. But
Kansas City
I think
on fire is the thing. So I mean,
a win for them would lock up the division, I believe.
Right, and that would I'd be curious to see the last time Cincinnati's won the division. I don't even know. Like, I feel like that division's been all Ravens and Steelers these past like 2 decades.
They probably did it.
I'd assume maybe in the 90s they probably did it.
I believe they did it one of the years in the early 2000s,
Like the Carson Palmer days or something.
They did it. Oh no, they did it in 2015. Andy Dalton years.
Really?
2015, 2013, 2009, 2005.
Man, well, they didn't win a playoff game, but
no, they have not. They have not won a playoff game since 1990.
Yeah, so good for Cincinnati to be back up at the top of the standings, and 6 years later. But Kansas City's on fire, and Patrick Mahomes is firing on all cylinders.
Kansas City's at the top of the conference, not just the division. Cincinnati's the top of the division, but they're still looking up at Kansas City. Kansas City's that team.
And Kelsey might play this game. He might not. Clyde Edwards-Helaire might play.
I've got the news. Kelsey is activated off the list. He actually was activated last week, I believe, but didn't play. He should be good to go, barring something happening. And then Clyde Edwards-Helaire not expected to play with his shoulder injury. Doesn't seem anything too serious, but probably just preserving him for the playoffs. But Darrell Williams is certainly a competent backup that can go in and do his thing. But I mean, I called this a few weeks ago. I said Kansas City is just going to start winning out, and they're not going to lose for the rest of the season. I still hold true to that. Kansas City's on fire. They're going to beat the Bengals. You're going to need another great performance from Joe Burrow, which could certainly happen, but the Chiefs are doing something that other teams, aren't going to match at this point.
Because the other thing with Kansas City, it's not just Patrick Mahomes; it's their defense too. Joe Burrow's
defense is pretty good because the Baltimore defense has been in shambles. They have lost almost every good player on that defense, and so while it holds its name value, it really wasn't that good. So tearing them up is still impressive what he did, incredible performance, but it wasn't this elite defense, certainly not an elite pass defense. So he'll have a much tougher test here against the Chiefs, as well as an offense that will not be led by Josh Johnson and will not allow them to just get the ball over and over again.
Again, kind of the same thing with the Buccaneers playing the Jets. This could be a tune-up game for Kansas City. Again, I'm not really talking down on Cincinnati because I do think that they could, pull an upset in the playoffs and maybe make it to the second round. Or they could, the second place team doesn't get a bye anymore. I forgot with the 7 teams. So I think they could make it to the second round and win a playoff game. But Kansas City, I mean, they've been their win streak is at what now? I mean, do I even need to look at it? It's on
8. They were 3 and 4.
Yeah, it's almost double digits at this point. So it's going to be Kansas City. And what's the spread? 5 points. I'd pick them to cover too.
I'm picking Kansas City any spread at this point. They've hit that level.
There's not much that the Bengals could do to really contest against them. Jamar Chase could have a great game, and T. Higgins can come out, and Tyler Boyd or Joe Mixon or Joe Burrow. They have all these great players, and then Patrick Mahomes is going to score in 2 minutes, and then you're going to have
the Chiefs.
Yeah, and then it's going to be the Chiefs.
All right, I'm gonna transition to the next one because I want to talk about the second hottest team in the NFL. You know who I'm talking about?
If you're talking about these damn Dolphins,
the number 7 seed in the playoffs, the Miami Dolphins, 8-7, 7 straight. You once again doubted Tua. You picked Ian freaking Book.
I did nothing but praise Tua 3 days ago.
Okay, you praised him and then picked a practice squad rookie against him. So all that praise means nothing if you're not going to back it up. Monday.
What do you mean it was Monday?
On Monday,
quarterback did I pick over
Ian Book. You said the Saints were going to win.
Oh, yes. I thought the Saints were going to win. Yeah, because I picked the coaching over Brian Flores. Yes, that's the reason I
Well, guess what? The coaching can be as good as you want, but it can't help you. You can't.
You can't
turn
coach a
Ian
bad
Book into
quarterback.
Drew Brees. Or it's just an unprepared, unexperienced, like this inexperienced. This guy was just not ready. Tua's ready. Tua's been playing well. Really would have liked him to throw a few balls toward Devontae Parker, help me win my fantasy matchup, but he threw every single ball to Jalen Waddle and really disappointed me. But Tua's humming. Tua's playing well. The Dolphins are playing well. They are in the playoffs right now. We wrote them off last week. I didn't know
1-7 to the playoffs. That is insane.
I didn't know how the playoffs were going to work. I also didn't think the Chargers would lose to the Texans. So, blame me for that, for, thinking the Chargers would beat the freaking Texans. But Miami is, they're the second hottest team. And, you don't want to catch, some teams you don't want to catch when they're hot. And maybe Miami's that team going up against Tennessee. Miami's 3.5-point underdogs, and I'm taking Miami. You don't go against Kansas City right now. You don't go against Miami right now.
Don't go against Miami. So they're going to be the 7th seed in this playoffs, is what you're saying?
I mean, what's their schedule? I don't know who they have. Do they have New England next week? They have New England next week, so that might make it tough. But I mean, they're in the driver's seat.
That kind of just shoots down your whole hype there.
Well, what's New England playing for next week? They might not be playing. Maybe, but if we'll see.
We can get to that one.
Miami beat them early this season. I'm picking Miami. I'm picking Miami over Tennessee. Tennessee has been, like I said, coasting with no gas. Meanwhile, Miami has been freaking revving up, like doing some Dominic Toretto Fast and Furious stuff with their car. They got a full tank and they got NOS and everything. They're going.
So, I mean, the Titans have been coasting, don't get me wrong, and they've been losing against not only teams they should beat, but also good teams. The only good team they've beaten of recent memory is last week against San Fran, who's been competing for a playoff spot. And then really their last meaningful win was back in November when they beat the Rams. And when they beat the Colts for the second time. So the Titans do have something that they're at least playing for to try to lock up that division. But Miami, I mean, they're going to have to keep the Titans off the field, and Titans know how to run the clock out with their rushing attack and their time of possession. So Miami does have a chance. I mean, what's the spread on this game?
3.5.
3.5. I would take Miami to cover, but I still think Tennessee is going to win. I think it would be close.
It's two a time, baby.
Is it two a
time, baby?
Well, he gets to play the.
He's not really.
Not the Chiefs, but he'll play either the Bengals, Bills, Patriots.
Titans right now. The playoff picture.
Sure. This could be a scouting opportunity for them. This could be like what the Seahawks went through last year with the Rams when they beat them towards the end of the year to secure the division, and then they played them around. So that could happen. So maybe that's me saying the Titans are going to win, and then the Dolphins are going to come out of nowhere in the playoffs and beat them in the first round.
I don't know. Dolphins are going to win. Jalen Waddle, offensive rookie of the year is locked up, but Jalen Waddle is – Jamar Chase has gotten all the hype this year. Jalen Waddle's freaking good. He's about to break the rookie receptions record for the NFL. He is a very, very good
Can
receiver.
This Dolphins team beat a Derrick Henry-led Titans in the playoffs, though?
Depends on what Derrick Henry's at. Depends on
carry Dolphins players on his back.
The Dolphins have a pretty good defense. Like they've got.
Sure. Do they have a Derrick Henry ready defense? Is the thing.
I mean,
it's not going to be the same team in a couple weeks.
All you need is there's no one player on that team that can stop Derrick Henry, but if you can get 3 guys on him, you probably bring him down.
That's the thing. You got to get multiple to bring him down.
Yeah, but I'm taking Miami. You doubted Miami many a times. You think you've learned the lesson by now. They're
I've
hot,
doubted
baby.
a lot of teams this year.
They're going to keep it rolling. They're going to keep it rolling. They're going to keep it rolling.
So we got Colts and Raiders. kind of interesting. Raiders going on the road to play
Ooh,
Indianapolis.
you want me to
Colts are
make this
7-point
game
favorite.
You want me to make this game even more interesting?
What's that? I mean, with the activated players coming on or what?
Well, Carson Wentz is on the COVID list. He is unvaccinated. He will not play this weekend. Sam Ellinger will be the Colts starting quarterback.
There you go. I think I've heard that name like once. Maybe he played a game last year or something.
Texas quarterback, baby. I think he's a rookie. And then Quentin Nelson, he is activated because the Colts offensive line. Yeah, the Colts offensive line has been decimated. Raiders are fighting for a playoff spot. They're 8-7.
Scratching and clawing.
There's 4 8-7 teams, battling for those spots. Technically, I'm not going to entertain myself with tiebreakers because I don't need to complicate stuff with that. But I think the Colts will continue to do what they've been doing. I think they'll still win. They are the better team, and it always sucks to have your starting quarterback get injured. But when you are a team that hands it off to Jonathan Taylor a lot, it makes it a little bit easier. So I think the Colts do their thing.
Sure, they could hand it off a whole lot and keep the ball out of Ellinger's hands, but the quarterback does need to do something at the end of the day. You can't always have games like Mac Jones where you throw the ball 3 times. So he's going to have to do something, and hopefully he can hook up, Pittman on the outside, or maybe Desmond Patman can catch some more passes. That'd be nice. But the Colts offense, as it is led by Jonathan Taylor, they're going to have a huge hit on the offensive line. And this Raiders defense has been I feel like it's been pretty lackluster with what we've been hyping it up before the season because they got what's his face in the offseason for like a second round or for a 2-year contract. It was
Yannick Ngakoue and Max Crosby are very good defensive ends. Denzel Perriman is playing really well, a middle linebacker for them, but Casey Hayward's doing a great job at corner, but it's still overall a middle of the pack unit, not something spectacular. I think Jonathan Taylor has a good game, probably on a pitch count, but
Derek Carr has the potential of going off, though, is the thing.
Yeah,
because
sure.
The Colts isn't the best defense. They're a good defense, not the best defense, led by Darius Leonard and whatnot, and DeForest Buckner. But Derek Carr could go off if it's between him and a playoff spot. Derek Carr was real close to playing in a playoff game in 2016 before was breaking his thumb, leg,
his arm. Yeah, but the thing with him is.
So he may be playing hard for just that spot, is all I'm saying.
The Raiders' offense is just at a tough point right now. Darren Waller's, out for the year. Henry Ruggs obviously had his thing. I mean, Hunter Renfro's is number one.
Want to perform nearly to the same degree that he did when he first came in.
And Hunter Renfro is his best target, and he's a great receiver. But the weapons at his disposal just are not, I just don't think he has enough against a pretty good Colts defense. So what's your pick here? Colts, Raiders.
I'm going Raiders, to be honest with you. I think the Raiders could upset them, and it's purely based off of the Colts quarterback situation.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, the Colts have to really control this and take it out of Ellinger's hands.
If these two teams were full force with all the momentum behind them and everything, I'd take Colts all day.
Yeah.
But if you're not going to have Carson Wentz for this game, then you can spare a loss in this situation, but you got to win next week is the thing. But I'll take the Raiders to upset.
Now, another playoff team trying to hold on to their spot, Eagles, Washington football team. If it sounds familiar, it's because it happened 2 weeks ago and the Eagles won. And I think the same thing will happen. Washington had their chance to do something, and it didn't work having Taylor Heineke out. I don't remember which game it happened. Not great. And then they got dominated by the Cowboys. Not a great look. You don't rebound from that. The Eagles, I think they'll do their thing. Miles Sanders is out, though, for Philadelphia.
Doesn't really do much as it is.
The hand injury. No. I mean, they've got Jordan Howard back. They've got Boston Scott. They've got bodies. And Jalen Hurts will run. But, yeah, to me, I mean, Washington football team really played with my heart this year, but I was out. They brought me back in, but it's done. That was 17 knives to the heart last week.
I think Jalen has what it takes to put this team away. And much like the Dolphins, I would say this is a very misleading playoff team as well, because the Eagles don't see the make it a playoff game. But somebody does have to make it at the end of the day. Compared to the Eagles and 49ers, I'd take the 49ers over the Eagles all day. But the Eagles will win this game, and they'll stay in the playoff hunt. But they are probably one of the misleading, teams in the hunt right now.
Oh, yeah, for
in
sure.
the NFC at least. But Washington doesn't have any momentum to go off of at all. Taylor Heineke, I do think, is obviously the option going forward, and he's not the issue. It's just this team just had an off year. I don't even think Rivera is the issue either. They don't have Chase Young that they're using, or I don't think they do. Or was that?
Yeah, he got injured a few 6 weeks ago or something like that. Yeah.
So don't have Chase Young that's leading the other side of the ball, and I mean, as much as McLaurin, he's been getting it done when he needs to, but he's not living up quite the same way that we thought he was going to this last offseason. So
I mean, like you said, it's been a down year.
They got an amazing. What was it? I think it was either a touchdown, kick return. I can't remember, but Jalen Reagor had an amazing play last week. I can't remember what it was. So even he's coming out to play when Eagles fans have been making fun of him these past 2 years. So him, and you got Devontae Smith, who's coming along great as well. I think the Eagles have what it takes, and get some playoff revenue in a couple weeks.
Hey, shock the world, Philly.
What other 10 a.m. games do we have?
I think we have one more.
Yeah, Rams and Ravens. Yeah.
Yeah, is that it?
Ravens.
Let me give you the news. The biggest news for the Rams: Darrell Henderson placed on IR, but swap-a-roo. Cam Akers activated. It's possible he plays. Don't expect much. They've got Sony Michel. He will handle as much as possible. Cam Akers is there.
I agree. They should give him
Cam Akers is there to first. I mean, he hasn't played all season. You want to just see if he can do it. And first, you don't need to put everything on his shoulders. Sony Michel is perfectly, adequate in the running game. You don't need to put everything. Give him a few carries, let him get the feel, and then, you got fresh legs in the playoffs, which could really help you out. But in the Ravens, the Ravens are just trending in the worst of directions. I don't know what the news is on their quarterback. I think Lamar could possibly play. Huntley maybe could come back. Haven't seen much. But they're just
getting another opportunity for a highlight reel.
Yeah, I mean they've been decimated. They have a lot of bad luck, and we saw what Joe Burrow did to them last week. Cooper Kupp, could be scary. We'll see what they do, but yeah, I like the Rams in this one. What are they favored?
4.5 or something.
4.5. Yeah, I'll take that. Two teams trending.
I would take the Rams. Easy.
Yeah, for sure. Baltimore's just
cover, which means they win. Yeah, for sure. Like the Ravens.
If Baltimore was healthy, yeah. If they were healthy, then we're talking about a totally different game, and probably a Sunday night matchup or something. But they are just at a very unfortunate place right now.
Stuff could work in their favor for Baltimore. Maybe teams lose and they're still in it next week, but it's a very, very unfortunate place to be in week 17, playing up against one of the best teams in their conference. So,
and a bad time to play the Rams based on some of the other matchups.
But the weather could work in their favor up there in Baltimore. I don't know what the weather's going to be like this weekend, but this team can play in terrible weather as well. And LA plays in a dome, so that could be a factor. Will it though?
It's like an open air dome.
Cooper Kupp's gonna get some more stats, and that'll be kind of that. It says Justin Houston's gonna play or he was activated.
Yeah, Justin Houston and Ty
5 years ago, you'd be like, oh, Justin Houston's playing, but it's kind of funny how his name kind of.
I mean, the Ravens could use as much help as they can get right now, but it's not enough to move the needle.
Yeah, Justin Houston, I think, is one of the last people to get like 20 plus sacks in a season, and now he's
we talked about that.
Now he's just somebody that can help.
Solid player, but yeah.
Sure. We got Broncos on the road to LA to play the Chargers. Chargers a 6.5-point favorite. I don't know what to think about either of these teams, to be honest. Well, I'll be more specific. I don't know what to think about the Chargers because
I think Broncos play spoiler here.
Yeah, if you're gonna fall apart to the Texans last week in terrible fashion, I mean, you gave up 40 plus points to the Texans. No one's given up 40 plus points to the Texans this year, I don't think. And Houston was probably a party that entire night for taking down a playoff caliber team. The Chargers are falling apart. I said it a couple weeks ago too. I don't think that they're ready, and they didn't live up to their expectations. The Broncos, they're not necessarily a playoff team either, but they compete. They have a decent future. Teddy Bridgewater isn't the future, but he has
Teddy Bridgewater
on the Chargers team.
Teddy Bridgewater's not the starter because Drew Lock expected to start.
Okay.
And then the Chargers
their chances of winning dramatically just went down because Lock's going to play.
I think Bridgewater's still injured. And then the Chargers, they get Mike Williams, Michael Davis, Corey Linsley, and Joey Bosa off the COVID list, so obviously depleted last week. And then so they get some reinforcements and some of their best players back. But I still think the way the Chargers played last week, not a good sign. Denver can play. I think they at least cover, keep it close. I don't know if they'll pull off the upset necessarily, but I can't pick the Chargers to win by 6.5 points after what they did last week.
No, if anything, I think the Broncos will win this game and pull an upset just like you, and also the Broncos would cover as well. I mean, with that win, sure. If the Broncos don't win, they will cover anyways because the Chargers are just they're just disjointed right now. They're a misleading 8-7 team as well, kind of with Philadelphia. But
all right, let me give you. All right, no, I want to move on. And I want to talk about Seattle-Detroit. This is a game I think we've been looking at for a while. I got no news coming out of this one other than the fact that Seattle is freaking out. In the Office when they do like the fire thing, and Michael Scott is like, "Stay calm, like stay fucking calm." That's like the Seahawks level of not even Seahawks, but Seattle as like a city and a fan basis. That's their like level of panic right now. Bobby Wagner's like, I don't know, if I'm going to be a part of this rebuild or whatever. And people are like,
my house.
Wagner's gone. It's like, chill out, season's over, whatever. It's fine. And with that being said, I will pick Detroit to cover.
Thank you.
They're to cover.
To cover? No. It's not. No. This is Detroit's game to win. I've been thinking this for weeks.
If
Detroit's going to win this game.
I don't know. Tim Boyle. I mean, Seahawks, not playing great. They should beat them. Detroit is just like a cover, like a spread darling. They get a lot of cover, so I certainly think this will be close. And honestly, the thing worth monitoring is just what Seattle is doing, like how much they are. That's really what the thing to look for is.
Also would like to say for anybody watching outside of I'm echoing a little bit, sorry. Also wanted to say for anybody watching outside of Washington, kind of going through a snow issue right now, especially on the west side. So Seattle could have a bit of snow to deal with for a second straight week against the Lions. And, Seattle should have absolutely won against the Bears. I don't care that the Bears got the 2-point conversion, even though they absolutely shouldn't have, considering there's 3 people holding the receiver in the air and he still gets his feet down in bounds. But the fact that Seattle couldn't drive up the field and get a field goal through the uprights is just ridiculous. So they have zero momentum. Russell Wilson didn't even play bad, but this team has zero momentum. They can't take down the Bears. So what makes me think that they can take down the Lions? When the Lions, look, they got a win over Arizona, and they have a tie with Pittsburgh. And I can't remember the last meaningful win that Seattle has. What, over San Fran a few weeks ago? Detroit competes hard, and Seattle does not.
Detroit competes hard and still loses. At the end of the day, this game doesn't matter.
Sure, it doesn't matter, but Detroit's going to win this game. It's going to be great. It's gonna be absolutely great.
All
This was the
right.
last time Detroit's won in the clink too. It's like Dan Campbell's going to be so excited after this game. I've been thinking this for weeks. I stand by it. And last weekend is just a cherry on top.
Detroit. Well, have fun ruining your draft position, Detroit.
Oh, I thought you were about to say the Seahawks. I was like, what draft position? It's the Jets who haven't.
Well, their second round draft pick can get better, so I view this as a win for the Seahawks, no matter if they win or lose. Carolina, New Orleans, probably one of the least interesting games, honestly. Yeah. Taysom Hill is back.
This last Monday, so
Taysom Hill, Demario Davis activated, Cam Newton, Sam Darnold. I don't know. I don't care. I really don't care at all. I'll pick Carolina to cover because I don't know. I don't care.
This feels like obviously these teams are in the same division, but to me, when I look at this game, I look at this matchup, who's playing, the momentum behind them. This just looks like a game that like two people would sit down on a couch and play with the other person on Madden. Like someone's a Panthers fan, someone's a Saints fan. They're like, "Yo, let's see what happens." I know they're in the same division, but no one cares. Like, no. These teams have losing records. They don't know what the hell they're doing at quarterback, both of them. So who do I think is going to win? I mean, I've been rolling with Carolina all damn season, and they haven't done pretty much anything for me. And I thought Cam Newton was going to come back and go all Superman, but really he's going, I don't know, friggin' Robin, if you want to call him that, to Sam Darnold. Who would have thought someone would be a Robin to Sam Darnold, or what's the other quarterback there, PJ Walker, right?
Sam Darnold is no. They're all nothing, so it doesn't. Sure. Nobody is. They're all friggin' Alfred. They're all.
Yeah, so they're not even. It's not even a Batman to a Robin. They're all just
they're all the Butler. So this game. So what's your pick?
I'll go Carolina. Why not? I've been their fan all season. I might as well.
6.5 point favorites. I'm not picking them on that. So now a game that matters: Arizona, Dallas. A lot of stuff riding on here. Dallas can clinch. Did they? I think they clinched the division. Let me check. I think
yeah.
But LA, if Arizona loses, LA clinches the division. Dallas, still in, and LA and Tampa Bay still in play for the number 1 seed. But Arizona, might need this game a little bit more. We'll see. Because Dallas 5-point favorites, I'm gonna pick Arizona just because I think this can be they're 6 now. It can be a close game. Arizona has the talent. If Arizona wins, I won't be shocked. I might be a little like, I thought Dallas would win, but that's where I'm going on this. I think Dallas will win. They should win. They're playing very good, but Arizona certainly is, plenty capable of winning this game.
Yeah, like I'm not going to go against Dallas until they play. I mean, this should go without saying, but I'm not going to play it. I'm not going to go against Dallas until they play a team that's better than them. But there's not many teams that are better than them. There's less than 5, really, if you want to even count that many. And the Cardinals, I've been saying it to other people now. Sure, they've had a good season. They've had a surprising season compared to what people were thinking. But you don't get a surprising Super Bowl. You don't get a surprising playoff run. You get a surprising playoff run. You don't get a surprising Super Bowl. And this Cardinals team has been eyeing the Super Bowl since like week 8. So I'm not going against Dallas until they play a Kansas City, until they play a Green Bay, or, debatably with Tampa Bay. Or I'm not going to – I'd probably go with the Rams over Dallas. But those are probably the only other teams. So I'm going with Dallas 100% because I think they have arguably the best offense in the league other than, Patrick Mahomes, Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers, household names. But I've said it before, Dak Prescott's one of those quarterbacks that can just blow up for an amazing game. And this Cardinals team is broken. They have a great record, and they're going to make the playoffs because they had enough momentum behind them. But this is Dallas's game to win. I'll give Cardinals the benefit of the doubt and say they'll cover. I think a 6-point favorite is about right, but Cardinals covering because Kyler Murray can probably make something happen. But look, Micah Parsons and Trayvon Diggs is probably going to give Kyler Murray a hard time. He's prone to make mistakes. He's prone to move around and run around. Both those guys are going to give him pressure. I'm going Dallas, but Arizona will cover.
And I mean, Arizona's defense is still pretty good. So, if Dak Prescott doesn't have,
I just think the Dallas offense is more
rough.
Impressive than the Arizona defense. But the Dallas defense, I would argue, is more impressive than the Arizona offense. That's really just the way I read it.
I'm picking Arizona just because I could see it happen. And I don't know if Dallas is, a touchdown better than this team if Arizona is playing up to its potential. Now, we don't know if that's going to happen. We'll see, but tough to tell. Final game, we will talk about Sunday Night Football, Minnesota at Green Bay. Green Bay 7-point favorite. We
might as well talk about Monday night. We might as well. We've done it before.
No, but we'll talk about Monday night on Monday.
All right, fine.
But yeah, I'm not picking against Green Bay at this point. I'm just going to not do that. So
Minnesota fans are going to be like, but we beat them. Don't care.
Yeah, you're not beating them twice.
Don't care. This is not even like Minnesota, I guess, has what? A hope and a prayer that they can make the playoffs. They're not technically out yet because they need a loss from San Fran and Philly, and those things could happen. Don't get me wrong, but you're playing the best team in the NFL right now, other than maybe the Chiefs. You could argue, like Aaron Rodgers.
I think Packers are the best team in the NFL.
No, I agree. I'm saying you could be the Chiefs.
Yeah, I think
the Packers are the best team in the league as well.
I'll give you a silver lining for Minnesota. Dalvin Cook should be back this week. Helps them out a bit, but Adam Thielen is out for the year. So not great, but I just, Minnesota, they're all right, but Green Bay at this point is not going to lose, especially not to the Vikings again. If Green Bay had beaten them earlier in the year, then maybe division opponents like to split, but I don't see Minnesota's not going to sweep Green Bay. The question is how close it is.
And I mean, other than a playoff spot, what is Minnesota really playing for to pad Justin Jefferson's stats, to keep having break these second-year receiving records, and Odell Beckham to talk all this smack on Twitter? It's like, Minnesota, I've always said that you have a great roster. The coaching is just questionable, and your quarterback can only take you so far. Kirk Cousins is not going to pull a miracle, another Minnesota miracle for you guys to make the playoffs, especially when you go up against the best team in the league in the second.
The defense would need to be a lot better for Minnesota to be a legit contender.
And their defense is anything but consistent.
So do you think Green Bay wins by a score, or do you think Minnesota is able to
cover? Minnesota, Green Bay is a 7-point favorite. I could see them winning by 10. Aaron Rodgers is not going to stop. He keeps getting poked and prodded at about, where are you going to be next season? What about this?
Not poked with the vaccine.
Sure. That too, yeah. But Aaron Rodgers, he's number one for the MVP race, and I think he is a quarterback that does care about that. Like Tom Brady probably doesn't. I think Aaron Rodgers does care about that.
I'll give you storyline. This is like the unvaccinated quarterback, like Super Bowl. Kirk Cousins.
Kirk also?
Kirk Cousins has been very against the vaccine for like a year and a half. So he's been obviously unvaccinated. So this is like,
Speaking of Kirk Cousins, I've heard this stat for the longest time because he rarely, goes against it. Kirk Cousins cannot perform in prime time.
He just won back-to-back primetime games.
Look at his entire career. His record is awful. His performance.
But the thing is, though,
he wasn't playing the best team in the league.
Yeah,
who did he play primetime these past 2 weeks?
I don't really. That stat to me is that's one that people like to pull out to be like, look at Kirk Cousins. At the end of the day, like I care more about are you beating teams you're supposed to beat, and like Minnesota, like these primetime games, like are you beating a team that's better than you? Or are you beating a team that, like, because it's not like they just plays like crap every time. Like, this game, they're going to be like, Kirk Cousins can't win in primetime. Maybe he just can't beat the Packers because Packers are freaking good, Like, I think that's what this comes down to. But yeah, we're both in agreement, back the pack. They're, and I think, I don't know how the tiebreakers work out, but they could possibly lock up a a first round bye if they win this. I don't know if
Well,
anybody.
the Packers. Let's see, they're a
Well,
win ahead of everybody else. It goes to division record is the thing. So Dallas's division record is really nice. Is the thing.
Well, I think it goes to conference record if it's it goes to division record in division. But so I don't know. But Green Bay still
division record in the total seeding too. That's the second tiebreaker. You can look it up real quick if you want. I know that Dallas has a fantastic division record because they have to play the NFC East. So, and Green Bay, they also have a really good division record too. I think Minnesota was the only game that they lost in their division. So they would, between them and Dallas, the tiebreaker would have to go pretty deep. I think, like, I don't know what the categories they'd look at, but I bet you Green Bay would still be first even if they lost.
Yeah, probably. But yeah, so that will do it for us. Our final show of 2021. I don't know if you realize that, but
we'll see y'all next year.
Yeah, I just did 5 minutes ago. But remember to follow Dash Sports on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok, as well as subscribe to the Dash Sports YouTube channel to keep up with what we're doing. We will be back with you on Monday to recap what went down, and then next week, Thursday, to preview the final week of the NFL season.
Hopefully
and then
we have some really, really interesting games that last week.
And then we will be with you through the playoffs as well.